Good morning, Eagles, and welcome back to Red Ribbon Week. Today is Monday. I'm ready to be drug free. Let's talk about what's going on for this week. The national theme for Red Ribbon Week this week is Love Yourself, Be Drug Free. So, today is Monday. I'm ready to be drug free. I hope everybody's wearing your red. If you are wearing your red today, then you are allowed to have early lunch release. Now, the red that you're wearing needs to be legitimately red. It needs to be all red. If a teacher says you're not wearing red and you're like, "No, it's like right here. It's there's a little bit of words there that have red in it." That doesn't count. It needs to be all red because you're ready to be drug-free to get early lunch release today. Tomorrow, I'm too bright for drugs. You can either wear bright neon colored clothes or just really bright colors, or you could dress like a nerd because you're really smart and you're too bright for drugs. On Wednesday of this week, I must ask you not to do drugs. Rock your mustache, either draw it on, paint it on, or go get some of those mustaches that you can put on sticker wise. I don't know if mustaches is the plural form of the word mustache. English teachers, help me out. Mustache. I mustache you not to use drugs. Anyway, that's what we're doing on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to team up against drugs. Wear your favorite sports team shirt, jersey, hat, whatever you've got going on. But we're going to team up against drugs. And then, of course, on Friday, pink is the new black. I pinky promise to stay off drugs. Instead of a blackout, we're having a pink out this coming Friday. So everybody, rock your pink and show Miss Wheeler your support. And let's pinky promise together to stay off drugs. Take a look at this quick little video on the history of Red Ribbon Week.
Hi, my name is Fabian Ramirez. I am a youth motivational speaker. So let me give you a little history of Red Ribbon Week. Why we wear red ribbons at businesses, organizations, schools, and here's why. Back in 1985, there was a DEA agent who, his name was Enrique Quique Camanera, and one of the things that he was involved in he was trying to uncover the Mexican drug cartel by going into Mexico and living among them, trying to figure out how are they bringing drugs into the United States. And so as he was living among them, they just found out that he was an agent. And one day he was going to lunch with his wife on February the 7th of 1985. And 5 men pushed him into a van and they took him. And a month later, they found out that he was dead. He had been tortured to death, actually. They found them in a shallow grave, and you know, the only reason that they would put somebody in a shallow grave is so that they can be found. So he was found, and some of his friends back in California and his local congressman actually started what's called Camanera clubs back in California. And what they would do is every year they would pledge to live drug-free lives and to show their appreciation for their friend Quique. So they would wear these red ribbons. And so that movement started to gain momentum, and then we have what we have today, which is Red Ribbon Week. Now, let me tell you a little bit of the stats behind why we even celebrate and why we teach kids to live drug-free lives. You know, the stats are staggering. For example, I'm standing here next to a school, and 60% of teens who go to schools like this one say that they can find drugs inside of schools. That's 60%. Now, not all 60% are buying them. They just said, I know where I can find them, and it's inside the schools. So we're trying to figure out how to stop that, you know, how to keep that demand down. And youth that actually drink alcohol, they're 50% more likely to try cocaine. It's crazy, but think about it this way. You never go from like smoking something that's so illegal as much as like cocaine or sniffing it back to like doing like cigarettes, you know? It's always like a slow progression of trying harder and harder drugs. So that's why we're trying to teach students to don't even start those small steps, you know, because you only go to the next thing, and everybody's always trying to try harder and harder drugs. One of the things we've also found is that a lot of kids, especially during the winter months and the summer months, are starting to abuse what we call opioids or pain relievers. All we're saying is, man, stay away from that stuff. And then a lot of kids say that they want to try like alcohol. You know, they think it's cool. They see the commercials. Let me just tell you a little bit about alcohol, all right? Here's a staggering fact. Alcohol kills 6.5 times more youth than all illicit drugs combined. Isn't that crazy? Like you take marijuana, you take cocaine, you take ecstasy, PCP, whatever. All those that actually like taking the lives of kids, alcohol takes 6.5 times more of those kids' lives. That's how serious alcohol is. You see, you don't see that in the commercials, right? They don't show you the cars that are wrapped around the tree after teens have been drinking and then they decide to get into a vehicle. They don't show you that stuff. They just show you the cool stuff, right? People having a good time, an ice cold beer, or you know, they show you the girls running around and they look nice and high, and they think, man, they don't show you the girls that are throwing up all over themselves. You know, the girls that are in the bathrooms, just passed out on the bathroom floor. They don't show you that stuff, but it's true. It happens. You know. In fact, some people have to be taken to the hospital and they have their stomachs pumped because they've had too much alcohol. Isn't that crazy? You consume so much that you get like poison in your stomach. I never want to present a problem without giving some kind of a solution, you know? And here's a cool solution. You know, teens that talk to their parents on a regular basis, man, they're 42% less likely to use drugs. Isn't that crazy? They're 42% less likely. That's why we're like, man, let's have these conversations, you know? But think about this for a second. Now, only a quarter of teens actually talk to their mom and dads about drugs. We want it to be 100%. We want for as many students to be able to go home and talk to their mom and dad about the effects of drugs and alcohol. So maybe this week, as you go home every day, man, talk to your mom and your dad about what you learned during the Red Ribbon Week. And open up that conversation, man, because the more you do that, the less likely you are to try drugs. Look, I believe that students should learn from other people's mistakes. You know, I think kids should learn from mistakes. It just doesn't have to be their own. This is drug education. The more you learn about drugs, the less likely you are to use them.
So now that you've learned a little bit of the history of what Red Ribbon Week is, let's talk just a second about why do people use drugs. People take drugs because they want to change something about their lives. They think drugs are a solution, but eventually those drugs become their problem, destroying and ruining millions of lives every year. Some reasons that people use drugs is to escape or relax, to fit in, to relieve boredom, to seem grown up, to rebel, or just to experiment with something new. So we want to avoid using drugs, and this week we just want to bring it to your forefront, bring it to your mind. And today we're going to ask right now, teachers are going to pass out a pledge. The Best Me is Drug-Free Pledge. Now, this pledge is not a legal contract. It's simply a voluntary declaration that says that you have hopes and dreams in your life and you recognize that drugs and alcohol can and typically does destroy lives. You agree to avoid using drugs and alcohol, and you're going to strive to find more positive ways to fit in, to escape or relax, to relieve boredom, to seem grown up, or to experiment with something new. So, students simply initial on each line if you agree to be drug free. I pledge to stay in school and learn the things that I need to know. I pledge to make the world a better place for teens like me to grow up in. I pledge to keep my dreams alive and to be all that I could be. I pledge to help others and to keep myself drug free. I pledge to avoid parties where I know drugs and alcohol are going to be present. I pledge to not throw parties that include drugs and alcohol. I pledge to get myself or my friends help who are struggling with drugs or alcohol, and I know that I can speak with Mr. Gissel about how to get help for myself or a loved one who's struggling with addiction. Please print your name, sign your name, and give me the rest of that information. Turn that into your third period teacher where you're sitting right now. Teachers, go ahead and put those in my mailbox for me if you would. Please and thank you. And everybody, have a great day. Remember, tomorrow, you're too bright for drugs. Have a great one, Eagles.